Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. And in this video, I'm going to be upgrading the starter and the battery cables on my 68 Chevelle, but this applies to any older GM vehicle you want to give it a shot at. And I'm replacing with 95 to about 2,000 application starter and battery cables. Why am I doing this? I'll show you. It's well worth it. All right now I've got the factory big gigantic starter down there, and it is not working. It's the Bendix isn't flipping out half the time. I already replaced it once. It's still not working. And in the future, I want to go to headers. I want to get rid of these log manifolds, and so I want a little bit more room so I can deal with that. And I want to get them a little bit away from the starter so you don't have that heat soak problems. Plus, I've kind of got a bit of a nightmare going on here. This is some part store stuff I threw together so I could get the car home. That's in another video if you want to check it out. But you don't want to run your negative cable over here to this bolt. It's got to go down to the engine block. I've got a really hokey setup here from the alternator to the battery. That's got to go. And this is where the power to the car goes. And that's okay in this year. It's run that way. But I want to rerun that away from the... It's called a horn relay, and I want to get that power from the starter instead. And so I want to clean all this up, and while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and change the battery tray and just kind of do a general upgrade. But let's take a look at the parts I'm putting on. So this is a starter for, I think it's like a 95 to 2001, and it's even for the newer 8.1 all the way up to 2006, possibly 7. And you can see how much smaller it is. It weighs about 8 pounds, and I'll weigh the one that I take off just for a comparison. But this is newer, much improved, lighter, and should give me a lot more room to deal with headers. Now let's take a look at the battery cables. This is a negative battery cable, and I'll put the application and a link to the Amazon so you can buy it. But what I like about it is it has this little connection already built in for the body ground. This thing is 1/0 gauge. It's huge, and it's already got a bunch of heat protection on it because I want to run this down and connect it to the block. The positive side the same way. This is a takeoff for the alternator. This will eliminate that extra wire run up to the battery. And this is a 6 gauge, which I believe is good up to a 200 amp alternator. And this main power gauge is a 2 gauge, plenty thick, plus it comes with the heat ramp all the way forward. I think I ordered these for like a 1997 2500 with a small block 5.7, and this is what I got. One thing to keep in mind is the battery bolts are huge, and if you're using them on an Optima like I am, you have to pick up these shorter ones that replace it. This is something you want to be sure of. I've seen these where they're actually a little bit too long, and the battery cable itself doesn't actually tighten up. Not good. Anyway, while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and put in a battery tray with its own hold down, and I'm converting to a side post. And the reason I'm going to side post is in the future, if I want to add in electric fans or fuel injection, I want to be able to have a nice spot to pull that power from, and I'll take it from the top post while the car runs off the side. That is how I did this car. This has a 496 in it with electric fans and a Holley fuel injection. The starting part and the power to the car comes off the side post, and the power for all the accessories comes off the top, and it was very easy to set up. And so I'm not saying I'm going to do that here, but if I ever do get to that, it will make it a lot easier. So, because in the future I'm either going to get a fan shroud for this, but I definitely want to get the correct radiator in there, and if I got electric fans, I want to have an easy place to hook them up and be ready. So I'm going to start by tearing everything down from the top end, just rip it all right back out. I'm going to raise the car up in the air, and I'm going to show you guys how big the starter is. It sits up in there, and then I'm going to shove the new one in there, and you can see the difference between the exhaust manifolds that it creates. Plus, I'm going to go ahead and weigh the old one. We'll see how much weight difference there is. All right, got the car up in the air. This is the old starter setup. It's pretty big, but on the factory setup, that's okay, because the exhaust manifold was way up here. Here's the hokey setup on the starter wire. That will completely change. I've just got to get it down around the transmission coolant lines. I'll get the new one and see the headers will come down through this area, and getting them up in and out or changing the starter in the future will be a real pain in the back end. So I want to get that smaller starter in there and set up. So I will start tearing it down and put the new one in. Oh, and since it's fun to do, I bust out my scale. That is the new starter. And my somewhat questionable grain scale It's saying 8.5 pounds. So when I get the old one out, we will see how heavy it is. All right, I got it pulled off, and the old one is 18.5 pounds. So 10-pound difference. You know, that's not anything huge, but it'll make a difference when you're trying to hold it up in the air. And you can see that, oh geez, I've got a motor mount bolt that's not even tight. I'm gonna have to see if it'll focus in there. I'm gonna have to address that before I do anything else. And while I'm at it, maybe I'll check that one. I thought my motor was flopping around a little bit, but all right. Well, anyway, I will take that back off the scale, and I'll get ready to put on the new one and spend a little bit of time running some wire and a few other things so I can do what I want. All right, I got the new starter in. Here's the old one, how big and pain in the butt that was. And then here's the new one. It's quite a bit more compact, and I got the new power wire on there. I think if I have got header clearance issues in the future, I can just bend it, you know, a 90 right up here in the middle part and shoot that straight back. But I'm not going to if I don't have to, and the rest of it's already nicely heat taped up. I also got the negative cable on. This is the positive, this is the negative. And I ran that under the fuel pump, and I came right up here to this bottom bolt on the block, sanded it all down, got it good and tight. I was looking at putting it on the motor mount bolt to really keep it hidden, but by the time I dealt with getting it all in there and getting it tight and everything, I just didn't want to mess with it anymore. So now I got everything under the car done. I'm going to go ahead and drop it down, drop in the new battery, and do all the wiring up top. All right, I got everything put on, and I'm at the point where I'm going to hook up the battery cables, but I'm going to show you why. See if you can see that. This is the bolts that came with those battery cables. I did swap them out for the shorter ones, and I'll show you why. All right, things are looking a lot better here. Here's the negative. I got it nicely grounded to the body. It runs down, got protection, and goes right down here to the block. Very good. This is the positive, and here's the alternator wire. I just run it right up the back of the alternator, and I use a little grommet that's too small to really protect it, but it's all nicely out of the way. And then here is the old bolt. See, the new ones barely poke out, but if you take the old one and screw it in there, that's it. There's just not much going on there, and so you have to swap these out. So I'll put these together and make sure it all works. And done. Fires right up, spins easy, and so now I've got a nice starter upgrade and battery cables. And that starter was $62 from Amazon. That is one amazingly cheap upgrade. Cables were, I think, 29 or 30. Down in the description, I've got all the part numbers, and I got links to Amazon to buy them if you want. Very happy. I don't have to worry about this side of the deal anymore. I've got tons of other issues, but anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and hopefully that helped you make a decision to do a good cheap GM upgrade on your older muscle car. Thanks. Have a good one.